4.
Yeah.
There's a break in between. So what if you keep the time as well to stop me and so on?
Thank you.
They are looking for the attendance register. Where is it? Oh, it is there.
There it is.
On credits. Okay, colleagues, let us continue. Just to take you back on the previous slides. Hello? Okay, that's much better. On the previous slide it was about the calculation of the credits. On the next slide is now about those knowledge areas calculation. Now let's have a look at you still remember what is this standing for? Mathematical science, natural science, engineering science, synthesis, and complementary studies. Now again, let's look at math 1. It falls under the mathematical sciences, as you can see there. Now just to go back to where the 16.9 is coming from, still remember, from mathematics. So in here, I'll show you where this is going to go. Credit, 100% thereof. And again, signals 302, if you remember, it's coming from here. 12.3 credits. And 5% thereof is mathematical science, 95% is engineering and physicists. That's how you're going to submit this as well. So there's a rigorous exercise that must be done by the institution to prove this. Now, if you check in here, it's a 0.6 of the credits that goes to 5% and 11.7 that is coming from there. That's to the 95% for the engineering sciences. Are we all clear? On the same page. Same as for design, as you can see where does it go, the design. And the complementary studies that are also included in there as well. And you can see the calculation that if you add everything for the mathematical science, engineering science, then it's a complementary studies only on those. The reason why, are you able to see this? Should we dim the lights?
Yeah,
it's fine. So this is effectively table 1. Say semester 1, okay, let's start there, code and name. Semester 1, complementary modules or courses, electives, compulsory courses, and electives for semester 2 and so on. So we are going to put the code of the subject or the module and the name, lectures, tutorials, laboratory, other, as you can see, TL, TT, and all of those that are in the formula or the principle, and the credits in there, and the percentage. So basically what is here, you do this exercise, and this one, and you put them in one line in there for the name of the subject.
So again,
is this available on Excel? Is this available on Excel?
No, in Word.
No. So we have to transfer the...
Yes, in Word, yeah. But they also found a challenge now that it is found... Yeah, but I'm saying the one on the website is in PDF.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one on the extra website is PDF, but they were saying those who know computers say we can save a PDF as a Word document, but that will not happen. What we'll do, we'll alert ECSA that the Ethernet will be in PDF, I mean in Word document for easier completion. Okay. So very critical, do an exercise as an institution from the previous, because where it's going to be needed so that you can complete it.
So again, this one, it will sit essentially at the level of the head of department, but there is input from the various academic responsible for the various modules. So there is a likelihood that an ordinary academic might not see this table, but he should just be aware of it, that it exists, and take into account what is planned by his particular module. And as John is saying, the last part there, the knowledge area, that it needs to be changed a bit to include the fact that you have will So Will has got a particular knowledge area that come from the standard that need to be there, and then they will actually check to make sure you call module XYZ contributing 10% to engineering design, and they will actually look in that module if there is something that is related to engineering design. So it's not just an exercise to do on the spreadsheet, but the evidence that is the module file need to be talking about it to some degree. So that's why I say, as a department, it needs to be a team exercise rather than someone taking the lead without informing the rest of the colleague to avoid a surprise.
Just to complete, the work will only start, sorry, for the new qualification structure will only start in July. That means ECSA is coming in June. That means the work can be neglected at this stage.
Yeah, but it needs to be accounted to in this table.
No,
They will probably not look for evidence of will, but in here they need to show will counting 100% for workplace or something.
Because you have already, remember, anything that you submit here, so it's something that you have calculated already. You can even submit until end of the program. The only evidence they will not find on site is to prove that has been done.
That is what I was
But all the submissions, everything that has to be, it has to be in here. Remember, those that are not yet being offered is about the intent to check. They want to check there to say, what is your intent in offering other ones that are coming? It might also help if they find challenges with what that you presented to advise you on those that are still coming. So if you don't show them your intent of those that are coming, you might be, if I use the street way, shooting yourself in the foot, not to get the advantage of advice beforehand. So rather prepare this and submit as if everything is there. You'll only tell them that, but the evidence that we have is up to so far. The other ones are there, that's the intent we're going to use, but they're not yet ready. Clear to everyone? So the summary that comes from here, just to repeat, is going to be placed in one liner there as per the module that will be the one. Now remember, these tables are guidelines. Nothing stops you to say, well, we've got more than that. If they go to the then you leave that semester one and you put it on the next page. And as will, you can insert it in any way in there. As I say, if applicable to the program, you can see there, set computer and IT. If this is applicable, whatever that is not applicable, then you can remove. But it needs to reflect that what you are offering to both who you are as the institution. That's table 1 of EJDP. And again, at the end, as you can see here, total for the program included the required number of credits for electives. You see their credits, they're going to add them for maths, they're going to put it there. Now, it's going to prove to here that it's here that we promise that this is happening. It's going to be seen in that table.
So the total will come to the total of the qualification will come to 360 or minimum 360
shown in here.
Yeah, and the knowledge area.
And the knowledge areas as well.
But it's always nice also at some stage to break it per year so that you have an idea of this distribution of 360 over the year. So roughly we'll consider that it's 120 per year, but just to see how it's actually looking, because sometimes you can have the first year accounting already for 200 credits, which means that the other year the students are not doing enough work. So, as I say, it should have ideally be done during the design time, but it's nice at some stage to be faced with the real picture of the distribution of those credits over there.
So a basic test will be to say 360 divided by 3, 120. So 120, each year you achieve 120 credits. So So the moment you achieve more than that, there's nothing wrong, but it's saying in 1 year you have to justify. Students are here for 6 months, not a full year. Then something starts to be. So because of these things are cross-reference and check. So if you say, no, we work hard at VUT, first year, 300 credits, means the other year there will be no class, the other year is only 60 credits. You follow where this is coming from. But you also need to justify that you do 300 credits per year. For some people, we like to overdo things and try to prove that, well, we work hard, we do this. So about it. Because these things have been thought wise and they know the time that goes with that in spending. Okay, great. Okay. Yes, sir.
It won't be correct if we add them up. They will not add up to 360 because there's electives.
Yeah, so
In some of them, there's 6 or 7 electives. And if you add them up, it's going to be 500, 600 credits. You cannot add it up like
Yeah,
that.
no, but you can still add them, doesn't matter. Remember, it's up to you to justify that for this person to be able to graduate from there. We normally have an ideal situation and then one like you said about electives. For argument's sake, you can give examples that if the student takes this, he's going to achieve 3 credits, but you can have a multiple F2 per the electives that a student will have to get.
Yeah.
But the goal will be there anyway. That is like that gap, remember that we spoke about. The engineering program will have this
I
basis.
understand 100%. It's just that you said that you add up to
Yeah, but you need to
360. It's going to add up to more than 1,000 in electrical engineering because it's all the programs. We've got 4 different programs running under one qualification.
okay.
So it's going to maybe add up to 2,000.
Okay. Yeah, so
That table's not
it
going
is
to work.
on the table will work.
The table work, the last line won't work.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what is required then is to show under the total the various combination.
Yes.
Yeah.
So-
But that's not. You must just think of it. It's not that easy.
Let me assist, it is easy.
Yeah.
Remember, at the end of the day, who is the target here? What is the institution trying to achieve? What is that thing that we see at the end? Who is it or what is it that we see? A student,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
A question will come to say, prove to us that this student A achieved all the graduate achievements. Then is then that you're going to say, all the electives took this achieved the 360.
But from one student to the next student, from one group of students.
But that is
in electronic engineering.
Yes.
We're going to have a group of students taking this subject, a group of
Yeah.
students taking other.
Yeah.
Just in electronic engineering.
Yeah, but-
And in the same qualification, power engineering, there's 4 groups.
Yeah.
In power engineering.
It doesn't matter, but remember, they will not take all the electives. They will take the core
That's
and
correct, but
electives.
how am I going to prove to you that it's 360 because I don't have the student? I've got a list of all the subjects there, and they add up to 2,500 credits.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm saying is a student who has went through the program to graduate.
Now you must take that specific student
Yes.
and look at what his
Yes,
subject
yes.
was. I cannot reflect it in that.
No, it's not for this table. That's why, remember at the previous one when you were asking Prof. Chen to say the access to the academic records of the students,
Yeah.
it will reflect it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that's fine.
Number 6 on the previous slide, for criterion 3, you have to prove it there.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's not on this table, but here is what we have. Even if it's more than 360, must be reflected.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
the 360 will only be seen by a student who graduated.
But
That specific student will show how many credits did the student get to graduate and did he achieve all the graduate achievements.
Standard.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
okay.
so they can have more than 360.
Yes,
But the minimum is the 360.
Yes.
So there cannot be a combination that give less than 360.
Yes.
That's a deficiency.
yeah,
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. But fine, let's continue.
okay. Then, oh, there's another question. Yes, sir?
I know you've mentioned about the academic record being on where students have actually achieved some graduate attributes. I don't know whether you're suggesting that you're dealing with academic records from institutions, and I don't know whether there's a suggestion now that the format of the academic record has to be changed so that it reflects possibly what was in test 1, in test 2, test 3, such that for example, it's really designed that test 1 is going to cover, for example, a specific graduate attribute for a specific model we should be able to see. Currently, we don't have it. and I don't know exactly how to look at academic record that gives us the marks or the score that the student has for a specific subject and then be able to assess that. We don't
We made that one before to say the ITS system that is used, that are we saying this to change? Remember, it is up to the institution what tool they use. The tool is not only ITS. There can be many ways. The question is, you haven't done a test. Just take one student up to so far who went through the program and what we have assessed knowledge area and the graduate attribute and see how it goes. It becomes easy once you did one. At UJ, they had, who's the Prof. Johnson Carroll, was easy to, to extract information to Excel and show us. We take let's have a look at this one student and see how it went up to where they are. It's easy to show them if you keep the records correctly. The problem that I've picked up with this is a new thing. We are all afraid of the unknown. That, no, but how are we going to do? This cannot be done. Just do one, you see, it becomes easy. Because the science is the engineering science universities with the BEng and the BSc have been doing it and they showed it. Worst part is even on the submission of the test and assignment, they write in front, in this assignment or whatever, this graduate attribute 2 that is being tested, and in this test it was graduate. That portfolio needs to be somewhere as the institution, because there has to be proof that the particular student has achieved all the graduate attributes.
See, I'm still having a bit of a problem from the management side of it. Considering the fact that we are understood to be facilitators of learning, it simply means while we are teaching, we monitor the students, how they are responding, we think of possibly the type of assessment to test some particular competency. What I'm getting now is we should have a predefined format of asking questions, which of course will become a little bit bouncing or useless after 3 years of practicing them. Meaning that test 1 should cover these graduate attributes, and every time those graduate attributes have to be covered in that particular format. And possibly if you have 4 tests, 4 questions, for example, to ask in test 1, you must never ever change it to 5 questions, because those you might introduce another graduate attribute. If a single test is meant to cover maybe a combination of graduate attributes, I'd rather monitor that.
Can I ask a blunt question to everyone? Because all of these are things that we think might be. Have you done a test to check it? Do you have proof of that, what you are saying? Maybe just go and do it and see. You'll see. It's so easy. I'm saying, have you done a test to prove that of what you are saying? Have you done that and to check in there that you cannot introduce something, question 5 and so on, the student, to keep the records and so on? What I'm saying is, sometimes we become afraid of things that are easy, the fear of the unknown. Because it looks like it's too much work, but once it's in the system, it becomes easy to monitor and to keep the records and so on and so on.
But can we just, for a minute, perhaps ask you to hold on with your question? Because we're going to go into the detail of graduate attribute just now, after this, and then we can go on to how practically they could be implemented.
Okay, people, let us see the glass half full, not half empty. Okay, let's have a positive mind towards this system. It's with us. It is going to be, it's been used, and it's going to be with us forever as it is. So let us think positive about it. It can be done, and I know you as learner people, you'll be able to do it. Okay. The core and specialization, that's another thing that has been introduced, if you remember what it was shown in the slide. What is the core? The part of the program that provides a platform for further specialist studies and lifelong learning in a traditional automated discipline. For your case, you'll have EO2PN, section 10.2 calls for a coherent of mathematics, natural sciences, and fundamental engineering science. Specialist engineering study using discipline specific. Specialist study has many possible forms, further depending on the theme in the core, A new subdiscipline building on the core may be offered as compulsory or elective courses. Practically, it must be limited if core is not compromised. I think this is straightforward. Self-study evidence, criterion 1, statement of the educational objectives, structure of the program overview, description plus table 1, the one that we just referred to. Table 4 shows logical development in the curriculum. Per semester or year subject, detailed staffing and loading, assessment component class sizes, description plus table 2 in 13P. Analysis of the program, content by knowledge area in the format defined in table 3 in 13P. Identification of core and specialist component, rules of combination, rules for awarding a credit, and appendix 1 course level information, which is shown here. Now this is in table 2, different from table 1. I mean, in 13P table 2. Instructions, it gives instructions to complete a table for all courses or modules reported in table 1, column 1 and 2, should be identical to table 1. Insert the type of duration, hours of assessment component not already contained in the previous being table 1. For type of assessment, use the key below and add for any type included, as you can see in here now. Now, in the previous one, it was just about the credits in the knowledge area, knowledge profile. In here, it talks about the assessment components, type and duration, and the class size and the rate. And I think this is more or less the same as what we have in NATED 151. That other one is just new because it's the same, but it was combined. We have a subject name there with the, now the teachers, the lecturer or the coordinators have to be mentioned in here as well. So this is just an expansion as from what we have in the NATED 151. And again, the pass rate, as you can see there, is requested as well. Now it goes back to that number 6 of the access to the student academic records. So that is very critical now that if you just have recorded the marks and just give them away, it's going to check as well there to say what is the pass rate of that group or in that module or in that subject. Course level information is appendix 1 to the program submission provided for every course or module in the curriculum. It is the following. Course module outcomes, how outcomes are to be assessed or attributes, how the students are assessed against the outcomes, detailed content, and list of prescribed books and other supporting material. This information should preferably be in the form provided to each student. Hint, use columns of table 1 and the table of contents for appendix 1. As we refer to in That was about criterion 1, done and dusted. Now we go to the graduate attributes now on criteria 2, criterion 2. Assessment of exit level outcomes or the graduate attributes. The assessment process of the program must. These are the questions that the assessors will be asking themselves when they see your submission. Ensure that all graduates satisfy each exit level outcome of graduate attribute defined in the relevant standard. Use a documented set of assessment criteria and process that taken together demonstrate that the outcomes are satisfied at the level indicated by the rank statement. And this is coming from where the documentation will be coming from. For instance, yours will be PO23N as the standard. So you should satisfy yourself in the assessment of the criteria of the graduate attribute as per this. The graduate attribute, I think you know what they are. Attributes form a set of individually accessible outcomes that are components indicative of the graduate's potential to acquire competence to practice at the appropriate level. The graduate attributes are exemplars of the attributes expected of graduates from an accredited program. The graduate attributes are clear, succinct statements of the expected capability, qualified if necessary by rank indication appropriate to the type of the program. And I think, as you can all see, they are all the same: problem solving, application of scientific and engineering knowledge, engineering design, investigations, engineering methods and skills, professional communication, sustainability, individual teamwork, and individual learnability, and engineering professionalism. You already have them. And this is the latest document from where these are coming from the International Engineering Alliance. If you read this document, you'll see where the extra documents are coming from. The latest one was version 13, the one of June 2018. Just not clear, but if you check here the rate of problem solving, they refer to the complex, the B-Eng, and the BN stable, the technology program at the bachelor's level, and the ones here are the well-defined that is for the diploma as well. But then you see there what the depth of knowledge required is, as they are the same. Okay, so in here, we have this now, so it means for yours, we'll have to plug in here on this one, which is the diploma. Now it says here, the outcomes in graduate attributes, as we know, are all criterion 2. So that was about it, but I'll touch thoroughly on this at a later stage on the graduate attributes themselves. Quality of teaching, yeah. This one, just go there. Okay. Touch base on them already. This. So on the graduate attribute components, EO2PN defines graduate attributes, there are 11 of them, what the graduate can do on completion of the program. There are two things in the graduate attribute, the level indicator and the rank statement, or the level descriptor. This is what differentiates the diploma student from the BN STEC and the BN. A measure of learning demands in terms of types of problems, knowledge, required skills, and responsibility expressed in terms of level descriptors. Rank statement is the context in which that is done. Context in which assessment may take place against an outcome expressed in terms of situations, activities, past methods, and forms of evidence. This is graduate attribute 1, where it says apply engineering.
So, but perhaps we want to just say something about the level, because it's a national diploma, the level will be well
defined, yes. Yeah.
So in general,
yes.
In general, there shouldn't be a big problem. But when we had BN STEC and BN, the contention generally starts already from here to justify that for a particular graduate attribute you are operating at a broadly defined or at a complex level. Here it's national diploma, so it shouldn't be so bad to get away with that. The issue could be to perhaps have a problem with someone who tries to be at a complex level instead of remaining at a well-defined level.
Thanks, Prof. It says apply engineering principles to systematically diagnose and solve well-defined engineering problems. And on the next slide, this is defined clearly, maybe just for them. This is how the differentiator is. For instance, it will say level descriptor, well-defined engineering problems can be solved mainly by practical engineering knowledge underpinned by the theory and have one or more of the characteristics. So at one institution, but on the BN STEC, they covered everything and said, it's so big as such like that. The challenge is, don't mount this. No, that's okay. It says, and have one or more of the characteristics of these are largely defined by environmental clarification, or are discrete focused within engineering systems, are routine frequently encountered, may be unfamiliar but familiar in the context. Same as this one, and have one or more of the characteristics. So it means it's there with one of these or with one of them. You all get it? So some said, but this is too much because we so much to know about it there. They only saw it when you highlighted that to them, but it says, and have one or more of this, have one or more of this. So this is how you differentiate a well-defined to broadly defined, specifically defined, and to complex defined. Graduate attribute 2, as you can see, application of scientific and engineering knowledge. For the attribute of what needs to be applied, it says there, application of knowledge of mathematics. Now, the catch comes. If you did not assess the student or teach them at the knowledge profile maths in year 1, it becomes a challenge because they need to apply maths here. So what the assessors will be looking at that for graduate attribute 2, you must show that somewhere mathematics has been applied in here. Natural sciences and engineering science to apply engineering procedures, processes, things and ability to solve well-defined engineering problems. Knowledge is significant in the rank statement. The level of knowledge of maths, natural science, and engineering is characterized by current range of fundamental principles, current range of fundamental in engineering science, codified practical knowledge with recognized practice area, use of maths and natural science, and all of those as such. Okay? So be careful and be smart when preparing the graduate attributes or when you form the form of assessment, because all these will need to be proven. So very important, what is the change is coming that when you set an assessment, it has to be in line with what the graduate attribute is. That's the only way to be able to prove, or whatever method that we have, is that, is it proving that the student has achieved the graduate attribute? Yes, sir.
At this level, you're coming on in June for a pre-assessment, right?
No, for the professional accreditation.
Yes. With this information coming right now, I assume that it is just that we know what to expect.
Yes.
But that you're really not expecting this to feature in the report, because now, that means for everything that has been happening before, these are evidence that need to be provided. And if something has been done already, well, I'd see it a little bit difficult to start unless I have to collect and create evidence.
I thought I'll let you hear proportion stuff. This document that you used for calculation was there before this. So the expectation is that this you have done already, just to tell you how accreditation will be done. So it cannot be that you never saw this before. The doubting will come. How did you even get accreditation from or endorsement of your approval of your qualification to be offered from CHE? It casts a doubt now. So be careful not to open yourself to things that you cannot answer when they come. Because they'll start to probe that let's stop accreditation now, you go to CHE. How did you allow this institution to offer this program? Did they follow the standard? How did they get to here? You follow? This is not new. This is just to tell you that what you used here, how you are going to be assessed. That's all. This you have already. This you have already. Graduate attributes. They are there already.
So they used to be referred as exit level outcome. Now the terminology has changed, as John explained. So your program would have said somewhere what module assess what graduate attribute.
That's right.
Yeah, but whether they have been assessed already, it's possible that by June probably some students have not gone through that particular module, therefore the assessment has not taken place. But the plan is there.
Maybe let's check first, Prof, with the audience. Are you aware of the graduate attributes?
Yes.
So it's not new.
No.
Because the moment you say, yeah, but this we only had on the 28th of March.
No.
You see what I'm doing? They'll just say, everything that they're having will fall down. Say, they'll just stop accreditation, go to CHE. And say, how did you even allow them to offer the program? So be careful of when you ask questions that are opening up the institution.
That's right. I mean, maybe I need to rephrase my concern here.
Yeah.
We're aware of graduate attributes. I mean, I'm just now asking a question at a lecturing staff level, because mostly when I have an assessment, we said and looked at what attributes level do I really have in this particular assessment as the student goes through. That means in the previous audits visits, I just showed you that my test we moderated. This was the expectations, and these are the evidence that I'm bringing. But right now, an additional evidence that I need to show is how I'm taking the student through the graduate attribute,
Yes.
which I doubt we might have for now. then my concern is, could it be considered as something to factor in into the preparation for the next thing? Because I really doubt at this point in time we have such readily available in this format. I mean,
no, that's not a problem. Remember, but the intent will be there. Yeah. So, okay, let's put it this way. By now, nothing will stop the engineering council to come together tomorrow to BUT and say, submit to us the intent of how are you going to carry out the program until the end, without any evidence of the subject part. That you must be able to produce. You don't have to wait until the end or wait for June. That is there somewhere, isn't it? And that thing when you do calculation, the CSMM document, yeah, and the module descriptors and all of those, that you did already.
right.
For now, it's just to say that what you promised, how are you doing it? That's where the accreditation comes. The quality assurance part there. You get it?
Okay.
Yeah. So the other thing, normally they talk to the HOD first. And if you are unsure as a staff member, you get asked questions, take them back to the HOD because you might expose the department unnecessarily so by lack of knowledge or not knowing what are other things. If you are unsure, refer them back to the, because they will be dealing with lecturers through the HOD, but if you are not sure, rather refer them back to the HOD, because you might say something that warrants something, they refer to the basic leader and they decide otherwise. That it casts other doubts, and many times it's not like that. Is it clear to everyone? Okay, great. So this is what is going to be expected that has been covered in a graduate attribute. Now we must not forget, because other institutions or other people were saying within the training, that so it means that assessment will only come because ours are only in the exit level subjects. They will only come in the final years. You've got tests throughout. In the test, in maths, it's not a grade. Maths cannot fall in here because you see, it says here, application of applied knowledge of maths. But they must have done maths in year 1. Now in maths, you're testing the knowledge of the students are able to do maths. It's got nothing to do with the graduate attribute, but it's part of criterion 1. Criterion 2 is then where you test the graduate attributes. You get it? So that the students can achieve those graduate attributes in mathematical sciences that we have there, the MS. You remember, it's got credits in it. Is it clear to everyone? That table that we had, E13P table 1, will say math has got so many credits. So those credits must show that they've been tested someday, and the students have achieved those credits somewhere. They've been assessed on the knowledge of maths. But you use maths in the graduate attribute 2, as it says here. Math, natural science, and all of those. So you might, in the first semester, first year, not assess any graduate attribute, but you are testing knowledge as time goes on. Yes, sir.
I wish to observe that, I wish you could correct me, wish to observe that there is instance of common zone, even when it comes to application of science in engineering. For instance, at one point we discussed about introducing applied mathematics and basically problems of certain nature, which already indicate some form of application, not as a pure mathematics. Maybe I'm just trying to imagine that there is a common zone and certain features of a curriculum could indicate, whereas this is mathematics, but then there is an application aspect.
Are you asking that?
I'm just observing that.
Yeah, that's what you're saying is correct.
Possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
What you're saying is correct.
Thank you.
There it is.
But remember, we had an agreement that after lunch we focus this way. I nearly forgot. Okay, but anyway, or maybe rather move the seat anyway.
It's okay. Well, I'm just trying to find out if this would be a good, understanding of, if I have a good understanding of this. Let's say a student goes through the first year, going through the science and maths and everything, and in the second year they come to me for, let's say, mechanics 1. In that particular mechanics 1, I'm expecting that a student actually gone through the natural sciences, for some engineering sciences, because they understand what are the laws of gravity, they can actually formalize or write a mathematical equation, and everything that is solved in mechanics 1 kind of is a mathematical scripting of whatever that they need to put down. It happens, but I just don't have to document that. So documenting that is a proof of showing that I'm showing that the student has got this particular attribute because in my subject I am trying to show that they can use the math they had at the previous level to solve my mechanics 1 problems. Such.
No, without prescribing. In this, when you assess them, you need to test them. Let me make it a simple example. Say, your assessment is only theoretical questions. The question will come that, how do you prove that this graduate attribute, application of math is not there? It's just a theoretical. So you're off-ramping from the, there must be whereby they apply the math that they did in what you are teaching them in mechanics. Follow. There must be when you test them. Because it tells you what you need to, what the attribute is all about. So what this is saying, when you set the test, when you look at this, and these are the requirements that goes with it, because this must be proven in what in the students achieving that graduate attribute. If at that level the graduate attribute is to be achieved. So you've got a guideline in your way of assessing students to make sure that, not necessarily assessing, but even teaching them that they achieve this attribute, because these are the characteristics of that graduate attribute.
But there is a strong aspect of documenting.
Yes.
There's no way it can be verified differently than having an evidence that in a particular module, at a particular type of assessment, something was asked which give a yes or no outcome as achieving this particular graduate attribute. That's the game.
Yes, Prof.
Thanks. I've just been battling to try and figure out how we might fall into a catch-22 for a couple of things. One, the fact that this exit level subjects basically that will have to be tested on these graduate attributes, and the exit level subjects need to be moderated externally. And now the problem we might face is that most of the persons in the industry or external persons might not be clued up on discerning what is a well-defined from a complex and widely defined problem.
Specifically.
To an extent that when they bring back a moderator's report, they want to grab a Rolls Royce at the price of a Toyota. So they want us to train for them, super beings whom they are going to employ, of course, at some point. So they look at it and say, no, you're asking the students questions in a more or less like give and take kind of way. Then we face a problem as knowledge providers, because we still need the input, but at the same time we need to comply by the ECSA regulation. So the definition of well-defined and the fact that as maybe we might be able to understand what's a well-defined, but the people in the industry might, or the external moderators might not be able to understand.
Yeah.
So that is the one problem that I've been trying to grapple with, how we can get out of it. And if for instance, we get a negative report, we try to explain to the assessing team whether they'll be able to understand us from that point of view. And then again, the assessing team will then be looking at questions and say, okay, fine. Because at times it's a very thin line between a well-defined and they're talking about complex. If as an assess, as a service provider or as a knowledge provider, say, to me this is well-defined, but the assessor feels slightly different. It comes a bit subjective. And there's a bit of, I know you got those descriptors there. Yeah, that's not a problem.
That's the answer, yeah.
Yeah, you got those descriptors there. So that's the one point. Then the other point is that the fact that we're having this exit level, my assumption is that our exit levels are all those that fall at 6 exit level subjects. because our diploma course is mp4 level 6. So I have communication skills, which is at level 6. Now that also falls part and parcel of what I can have the liberty to assess a GA on, and if that's the case, then I must also inform the person doing communication skills that, you know what, for you to prepare my students to be able to meet all the requirements for them to graduate, then you must do ABC.
Thanks for the questions. I think let me start with the last one. I'll go back to the first one. The exit level is when that module or program is being seen for the last time. That's exit level. So exit level is not necessarily at the end when it is at the level. So mathematics will exit maybe at year 1, first semester they do maths, let's say call it maths 1, and mathematics 2 second semester of year 1. So the last time we saw the subject, that is what exit level subject is. That's where the exit is of the subject. But for instance, if you've got mechanics 1, mechanics 2, mechanics 3, exit will be at mechanics 3. But if you only have mechanics 1, and it's a prerequisite for something else. But for that mechanics 1, the way it was for the last time is exit. If you fail to test the graduate attribute there, you can test it there at the exit level. Is it clear to everyone about what is exit level? Exit level is where that subject is no longer going to be seen. It's exiting there, it's finishing. Now communication normally is at the beginning. If it exits there, you want to test the graduate attribute there, then it's there. But normally in communication, you will not be able to, it's only the knowledge. You will apply communication in other subjects to test that, for instance, writing reports, writing assignment, and presentation. So you test if they were prepared well, to be able to can be audible, to be able to can write and present information. So those are the ones that normally come in the first year, the fundamentals, are the ones that are used, as you say, as application. It's the application of in that particular graduate attribute. So it goes back to, Prof, if you allow me, maybe just to go back and repeat on something that we're going to cover. You also spoke about the table that you need to have. I just want to show something as well, because this goes hand in hand. Now, on this table, for the development was the graduate attribute outcome. So structure and connection, knowledge outcome, attribute and level. Let's start here going further, as you can see here, 1, 3, 4. Linear algebra for exit level outcome 1 or graduate attribute 1, which is the problem solving, is done there so that it can assist in soil mechanics. You see, that application will be applied in soil mechanics. But again, the knowledge from there will also be applied in freeze 2. But the knowledge from freeze 2 will be applicable to solve a graduate attribute 3 or exit level outcome 3. And then from there, it is going to be used in design to solve exit level outcome 3. Somewhere on your spreadsheet, you will need to show what are these attributes, these knowledge profiles saying, and where are they going to be assessed? Where are they leading to? Very important to the lecturers as well. The students will be asked during the interview, when they interview the students, are you told why are you doing mathematics? Are you told where are you going to apply this drawing knowledge or mathematics knowledge? It's upon you to tell them that when they arrive here, some of them will come to class just to pass them. But when they get there, they say, but your level of algebra, but I've never been told I'm going to apply it in design something. So it becomes now from this institution, lecturers to say, this is what you're doing. So prepare your mind-wise that this is going to be applicable to exit level outcome 3 when you get to the exit level subject, where the graduate attribute is going to be assessed. Are you all on the same page? You'll have to have a spreadsheet like this for the department and say, Department of Civil Engineering, we have this. DCR, you can show them in a different way, whatever that you show. Like as you can see here, for exit level outcome 5, the linear algebra that is done, but it ends there is going to be use of mechanics to solve exit level outcome. Just an example, but you will be able to change. So what this is saying, you need to work a matrix that for me to get to this, what is it that I will need from there to there? It's about the department to do it. So what this is saying compared to the previous 98151, we now know these things that we are doing, that they are the building blocks is for preparing to do what and where at which level. Is it clear to everyone? Okay, great. Although many people still can't on this, but this is very, very critical. Just focus.
But to just add to the answer of John, the moderator need to be also trained and informed of this whole system.
Yeah,
I mean, it's new to a lot of people, including the moderators.
Yeah.
So I suppose your quality paperwork that you give to them, give them at least an idea of what is expected and how they need to apply their mind to do moderation.
Yeah. The other thing, thanks, Prof, that to add on that, institution where I come from, at a certain time in 2013, we called what we call moderators workshop. And people say, yeah, these people are busy in industry, they will never come. We expected a certain number, it was double the number. Because we undermine these people, they want to be part of this of what we are doing. So it's upon the institution, if you appoint someone who is busy, set your desk, why do that? Appoint people that are interactive, who want to add value to the system. And they are men of them, how they do that. So we had a moderators workshop to train them through what the expectations are. When you moderate, don't put one green mark in the middle of the paper. Moderation is remarking. This is the policy. And show them the policy of the institution because they have them. And yet, remember, they are appointed as staff members by the institution, although they are not practically on campus. But they are staff members. They've got a staff number. So engage them, make them aware of the changes that are coming, differences between broadly defined, well-defined, complex defined, specifically defined, and all of those. So make them part of the system. If you are going to say, yeah, but our moderators are not good up, so whose problem is that? Our problem. Then who must solve it for you? Yourself. So you need to do a little bit more, make them part of the community, the moderators that you have, that they are good up with the system that you have. Because you're not going to pass through that one from the assessors. If you find yourself wanting, if you tell them that, but you are unable to educate them or bring them closer. So it remains the responsibility of the institution to train the moderators. Yes, ma'am?
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
For those of you who do not know me, I represent the communication department. My name is Freya Shea. I just want to observe something and then ask. I'll start with the question I have. Prof. Jing, you mentioned communication. I think it is everyone present here, responsibility of each one of you to enforce the importance of communication as not a soft skill, but an essential life skill in your classes. If you speak to your students, they will say to you, I can't graduate because of communication. Why? Because they dislike communication, because communication is not integrated. So, throughout your life, you need communication as a skill. And maybe if it comes from your side to tell us, our students, it is important, then it might change. Remember the number of weeks that we have to teach as well? We try to teach our students, let's say, logical reasoning, argument mapping, whatever it is. You don't have enough time to enforce the communication, but you can enforce them within what it is that you want your students to do, in your reports, within whatever it is that they do. It is just an observation that I would like to make. Don't turn around and blame us
Okay, audience, your colleague has spoken. I hope you picked up the important information about it because it cuts across the board. Oh, okay.
Special communication because you had a workshop in my department. Especially on the exit.
Yes.
We were seeing, okay, now how do we define it? The one that the description is NPS, things and all that. And we were saying in that case, in communication, we should be able to use the key, one of the key aids. When we look at year number 6,
yes,
it defines of communication.
Yeah.
So then means we should inform the
Yes.
communication department that as you go through the syllabus with them, then think about this because we'll have no students on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was very good.
Yeah. So basically, you're going to take this and give to the communication department, and when they come there, they expect to communicate effectively both orally and in writing in an engineering context. This might be an exhibition or, but they know better how to do it. Yeah. But it mustn't just be student because it will be caught when they do a presentation in engineering. Then you can blame, say, hey, but you don't talk correctly from the communication technical students. Okay. Yes, ma'am?
I might also include in the request if you look at the video of politics, that means providing information during the connection. You being engineers, we not. For example, engineering drawings, shipping models, model quantities, subject.
No, remember, yours is here. This is the requisite material to be communicated. This is for engineering.
I understand.
Yeah.
But you want to be able to do that?
Yes.
Also teach us how to teach them to do that. Don't give us your specific knowledge, but give us the tools to give to them so that they can just give it us.
What she's saying basically is what we should have done long time ago. We should be furnishing them with a typical kind of reports that we expect the students to write that are reflecting an engineering perspective. But currently we don't do that. So they go out of the way to be their own. But then now we expect the students later on to try and translate what they had then into an engineering communication. Then the students start struggling. When we say our students cannot write a report, they cannot write a statement. They cannot finish a complete statement. So, as I said, my question was very deliberate.
Oh, thank you both of you. Yes?
I'm trying to clarify something. I'm not sure if this is going to be exact issue totally, but maybe our mode of achieving our program contents. I'm not sure if technical writing will be fully outsourced. To communication department, they said that we will now be expecting communication staff to teach technical writing totally. So if they teach general writing, they put them through content that allows them to write logically materials up to 3,000 words, and they stop there. We will have to now articulate or build on that in some other course contents to make sure that now students write real technical content in the different reports they write, maybe on the lab reports, or when they submit the P1 or P2. I think that's how they now really write the real technical reports. Not sure we will expect or demand that much. We should demand that much from the service department.
I think maybe that is an internal method, that's not involved.
No.
So I will not participate in that. Colleagues, I'm going to leave all those graduate outcomes because we know about it. But I want to go to where it matters most to say. The study, self-study only of the graduate attributes. Evidence of attributes include where is an attribute assessed at exit level, how is an attribute assessed, what performance is acceptable and satisfactory, what is the consequence of non-attainment. In particular, evidence must demonstrate that in relation to criterion 2, students remember that the method of assessment of attributes are valid, graduates are assessed and satisfied with the attributes. In relation to criterion 3, teaching and learning, that education process is geared to developing the student towards the attributes. That's where those starting with communication leading to wherever that is going is going to be tested again. You remember on that slide that the red C3, C1 on the side, it was saying on that one of the development is on criterion 3, the teaching and learning, that it must be improved. Still remember that? Okay? So let's have a look at this. So table 3.1, you'll see there's got something like this. The graduate attribute 1 says apply engineering principles to satisfy diagnosis and solve well-defined problems. Same that I just read, so you're going to populate this as such. Let's have a look at an example. Just take an example of graduate attribute 4. Populate and say conduct investigation of well-defined problems through locating, searching, and selecting relevant data from codes, from databases, literature, designing and conduct experiments, analyzing and interpreting results to provide valid. So this is a copy and paste, it's a graduate attribute. Question comes, where is the outcome assessed? Now you the definitive point of the graduate attribute assessment is in course whatever research project. This course is also used to assess graduate 6, professional communication and teamwork of graduate attribute 8. You follow that, how you can also do this. How is the outcome assessed? Now you state, the student working with a fellow student is required to undertake a research project assigned from a list provided by the department. All assignments are vetted by the course committee for compliance with the expected level of problem solving. Each student writes up an individual report indicating an individual contribution. The report is subject to internal and external examination, including an oral examination. Now this is just to tell you the how part of it. What is a certificate performance? The assessment requires the student to do or reflect in the report, identify the research question, plan the work, submit the future, execute the work, use appropriate methods, analyze the result, draw conclusion, report on the work. The above criteria are assessed on the approved 5-point scale, defined in the detailed course brief in Appendix 1. Acceptable 3 ratings are expected against all in order to meet graduate attribute 7. Assessment criteria 8 receives a more detailed assessment contributing to graduate attribute 6 and C the graduate attribute entry, because you also be mentioned that there as well that this will also be used for it. So you are telling how this is going to be done and what will be a certificate. Yes, bro?
I think this is where the shift mindset comes in, because you can clearly see that there is a different way of doing this that are not what we used to do. And you can see that there is a deliberate effort of not linking this to mark. It does not say satisfactory, you just put there 50%, you pass 50%. No. The graduate attribute in assessing whether it is satisfactorily achieved, there need to be a bit of narrative there as what are the elements that you look at and how here they use a Likert scale probably to say that it is acceptable. So if they see here something like it's a 50%, he passed at the test and 50% at the exam, it will definitively be considered as not assessed properly. So it brings that there need to be two sets of material to keep. One that we call marks, and that's the kind of thing that all our institutions deal with, and one that we code this type of information to arrive to the end to say that a particular student has met a graduate attribute. So that's the comment.
Thanks, Prof, that you brought the 50% thing. I want to talk about it. Yes, sir.
I just want to find out if you now have many subjects that measure the same graduate grade, but the student now achieves, according to your 5-point scale, a level 3 in the one subject and a 4 in the other subject. Which one of the two scores do you take? Because if you average that, it gives you a 3.5. So is it then a level 3 or is it a level 4, but it's still achieved?
I normally hear this word normally from the streets, double dipping, period of double dipping. Be careful of that because you might be doing disservice to yourself if you do that like that. Because the first question that will come from the assessors will be, show that in your policy that you are doing it multiple and that you are taking that. Many times you do things that are not in the policy. Remember we spoke about your assessment statement or your assessment, not to say assessment policy, but your assessment statement. How do you do the assessment? What is what and so on and so on. It must be coming from. Because now, it's like, if this does not work, then I can use that one. But which is which? If remember, it's about achieving the graduate attribute. And in the assessment statement, you need to show when will you say the student has achieved the graduate attribute. So I'm not saying it's not exercise not prescribing, but just be careful of things that are like that that might not be able to defend or be able to explain. Let me come to the 50% and make an example because people normally don't understand this. Let's say, for example, you've got a test that is 5 questions or an assessment, and you say you're testing graduate attribute, and you say pass marks to achieve this is 50%. Question 1, 20 marks, question 2, 20, question 3, 20, and 3, what? If you multiply by, there are 5, you end them is 100%. So, you realize that the student answers question 1, question 2, and half question 3 is 50%. They pass. Now the assessment team comes in, but the part of the graduate attribute in this question 4 and 5 that is not answered. The student does not achieve the graduate attribute. So what that is saying is 50% there of each question, not the whole assessment. So the student then achieve 50% of each question. Then it means all the graduate attributes, what is there for the graduate attribute has been. Now we had a situation where there is one situation where say, and it's in the science one, but in question 4 and 5, it's got nothing to do with the graduate attribute. Then why waste the student's time? That's the solution. You see, so be careful of that because all the questions that you're asking must be related to the graduate attribute. Why ask a question that is not weighing anything to them? You're wasting their time. It's not adding value to them. Why are you asking?
Yeah. But there is several school of thought around this. And then we were trying, and I hope we remain consistent to say we are not going to prescribe the way you want to do it. But there is various models of doing it, whether it's specific question, whether it's an exam, whether it's a test, so that is left to you to decide. The main thing would be that at some stage, these 3 questions will have to be answered. The where, how, and what is the satisfaction.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. The challenge of when you say
colleagues at the back, can you have 1 meeting, please?
Yeah, I think the challenge of when they say the idea was when they were studying, but from hearing you, it is about carrying someone from first year.
Yes.
All the way, which is in the finishes. So that attribute start from first year and is allocated as well.
Yes.
I think that has to come out very clearly.
Yes.
And so that every subject contributes something towards this training.
Yes.
Now it's clear.
Yeah, thank you very much. See, that is the whole idea about it's the whole idea about that's why this system is much better because you know what you are doing and you can hold people responsible. In the past, when you do math, you just do math, and you arrive at a point, geotech 3, they cannot do differentiation. But because they were never prepared that maths will use it somewhere, they just, and I can tell you now, even in the current diploma, students finish S4 without maths 2, they do it later. Then I was asking, do we need maths 2 in the diploma? They never apply it. They keep it, they pass maths 1, they continue, finish, they do maths 2 later. Do they need maths 2? Because the alignment was not correct at that stage. To say, where are you going to apply maths 2? If they never apply it, why is it in the curriculum? Because at the end they finish, it's not the maths qualification, it's an engineering qualification. But this one has been packaged very well. You say, like you said that the student is taken to be told at the first day that this is what is going to happen. You are going to be assessed and to show your achievement. So they know first day that, hey, this thing of banking class not doing good, I must know that because I'm going to use this when I get there. It is be specific like that, that this I should have done in S1. If I bank class is there, hey, I'm caught up now. So I don't have that information. Thank you very much for the contributions. Prof, you wanted to say something about that? Okay, fine. Yes, Prof?
What is satisfactory performance?
Yes.
Another assessment required for the student.
Yes.
I'm under the assumption that when you're preparing your rubric and assessment material, that you have to teach the students.
Yes.
They must know that,
yes.
You know, I'm going to assess you whether you can identify the research question, plan this, and that.
Yes.
And then if we talk about the marks section, then even your mark allocation
yes.
based on
exactly.
8 points.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Then again, it's a way of doing it. Yeah. As I said, there is just plenty school of thought and way of doing that. That could be one of them. But the student needs to know that achieving a graduate attribute and passing are two different.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
May I ask a question, please?
Yes, sir.
Can students who pass all the subjects be kept because we don't have enough evidence of achieving some graduate attributes?
They can pass the knowledge profile, yes, no problem, but not achieving the graduate attribute.
So we fall qualification.
Yeah, but the question will come. Let me put myself now not as a parent who my child is studying, and I'll blame the institution. Then why did you waste my child, or why did you waste the student's time by doing that? So along the way, you need to be fair and morally correct to do it correct. That why will you do that? Why will that happen in the first place? Why would that happen? Because you've been asked by that. People from all ask, but why would that happen? So it means somewhere, something's not aligned in the institution.
Okay, so again, without prescribing, there is ways of doing this business such that if the person fails the graduate attribute, then it doesn't pass.
Exactly.
So that's for you to work it out.
Yeah.
But it's also important, and that is for a lot of institutions, to align our rules, our academic regulation with this, so that we can, in writing, say that if you don't achieve the graduate attribute, then you are not supposed to graduate. Because I don't know what's the case at BUT, but a lot of institutions are still lagging behind. We're still having this 50% and 40% to qualify for the exam and all this kind of academic regulation, which do not talk about that. And we could be having difficulty explaining why someone is cannot progress because he didn't meet the graduate attendance. But that's some paperwork that needs to be sorted out.
Thanks, Prof.
Yes, as you said, so this was the GC slide. Can one weight a graduate attribute? What I'm trying to say, let's say problem solving. We've got different modules that put problem solving, and I would say 30% of this graduate attribute will be met in this, 30 in this other one, and then the 40 of the last one. Can one weight them? And if possible, then maybe I'm hoping my team is listening because we had such a discussion. Then the second one, first of all, let's go with the other one. Yes, the weighting.
Yeah.
And the second one was that if I decide that I'm going to lump all my graduate, let's say graduate attribute 4 in one subject. I think this is one that has got the bigger weight. I can take graduate attribute 4. Then it means if I still pass graduate attribute 4 in one of that subject, the student cannot be opted again. the same way they graduate. That's if I don't wait. That's what we're trying to do.
Because, okay, on the second one, remember it goes to, and that's where the mistake come in of not, and I like what you said say about the development. The graduate attribute is not only be seen there at the end, it comes from there. It has been developed, the student has been developed. It's only that at that level, it's only being assessed and tested. It has been coming all along building the building blocks, yes. So that's why it comes now to be smart as a teacher. Also without prescribing, but that building blocks and normally get missed at the beginning. Why? Because engineering departments are not involved. It's where the fundamentals are done. And you leave them to them without, like the lady was saying from communication, not informing them of the expectation. But if you are a part of that, remember they are doing service to you, whereby when the assessment is done, accreditation is on you, not to them. So you cannot blame them. Say, but no, that's your problem. It's an internal problem. You must take charge. It's an engineering problem. That this is part of it. So if that is done there correctly to move that way to get, there should not be a problem when the assessment is done. So many people miss the point of saying, but as if the graduate attribute is only zooming up now at the end there. No. It has been coming, building to get there. Whereby you even find some use the other graduate attribute to build to the other one to get there, like you said. That's why they cannot be prescribed, they cannot be one way. The institutions will have to be very smart on how they do it, on how they do this. You see, this is one example. I've got another one as well that I'll show. Other people that profess say, we'll do it differently on this graduate attribute, totally different. But the question is that they are achieving what the requirements are in the graduate attribute. The first one, Prof.
Yeah, so you want to do what feels good for you. But my question is, how would you have one module addressing 11 or 10? Look at the complexity that there is for one graduate attribute. Why would you like to put all of those 10 in one module? And to be able, when they ask now for you to show how the students have met them and make sure that all the students that have graduated have achieved them, why would you choose one module to have all of them?
No, what I was saying is this. Let's say graduate attribute 4.
Yeah.
I got 4 modules. Let's say subject A, subject B, subject C. They all have a component to be taken care of by graduate attribute 4. Then, in my own style, I say, okay, the way they are spread, I will indicate the students that you meet the graduate attribute in subject A, you will have met 30% of it only. And that's what I'm talking about weighting.
You will have met a component.
Yes.
Okay.
Just you will have only met a component of it.
Okay.
Then you go to subject B, you will met the second component, and subject C.
No problem with that.
Until you meet subject C, then you shall have met its entirety.
There is no problem.
As long as you'll be able to get provided evidence and show how that is achieved. Remember the same that when you said physics is not is distributed somewhere and you are able to show them. Like statistics is not in math but it's shown in where and where. Same thing. As long as you can show that, it's not to say it's good to ask them to that. It's not only that you must be only there one. It's just like that and you find it like that. And that is what is easier about the HQSM, to give that leeway of institutions being innovative in doing things. Great. When I looked at Sora and she was, let's give the lady first. Oh, it's the lady first. Okay, thank you very much for your answer.
I just want to know that if we have one student, we have to then have a spreadsheet for that one specific student, say he met that attribute 1 in the subject, 2 here, part of 4 in this, part of 4 in that.
That's where the complication
comes.
Yeah, now that's where the complication comes for the system. You need to simplify it easier for yourself. But if it's the system that you use, you can do it. I think at the moment it just that it's a very new thing. It looks so like that, you know, once you do it, it will become easier as time goes on. But it's up to you how you do it. If you are able to do it, I can understand. So instead of doing 1 and it's breaking down into 5 to look there and here make 1. It might be tedious, but if it works for you, why not?
I'm just thinking at the end you want to see evidence that this individual student made more than an attribute, so you need to show proof that it happened.
Yes. Okay. Assist me, sir. I saw him and who was is the other one? Oh, you didn't see? Oh, so Mrs. Yusuf will come to you, sir.
According to what you
there also. Listed the
This
number.
one?
No, the one below. The assessment requires a student to reflect in the report, and there are set 8 things. Then next to it you say they've got to get an acceptable fee on each one of those in order to get this particular graduate attribute. Now that, our expert one, Prof. Chene said, if you have got a number of subjects, each with a component of this particular attribute, plus other attributes like this one has, and you start working it out like that, so that student passes that particular module. Say, you said that that module contributes 30% towards this particular graduate attribute, and another 20% to another one, and maybe 50% to another one, maybe it's maths or whatever. And that student passes that module on a written exam. You can't take that information and say, because you've got 50% on that particular test, or that particular module, that he's actually met this attribute. Because that means, as in the example you gave, he's left out some questions, and maybe those were the pertinent questions towards this attribute, not towards another.
Yes.
How do you get around that?
Yeah, it simply says that in asking your questions, you must be very careful of asking those questions that will be shown. Remember, if you went back here, if you check here, what attribute is all about is what needs to be to show that this has been achieved. The team will first start there and say, demonstration of all of this and all of those that should have been proven in the attribute. How you assess that and do that is a different case, but this is what they will be looking at. Prove to us as the institution that this attribute with all of these requirements, factors or characteristics has been achieved. It's up to the institution to show it. Yeah. But in
other words, you've got to have specific modules that address one and only one specific attributes, and other modules that might have a number of attributes. Those are not the critical modules.
Yeah. In an ideal world, ideally that is the best way to do it. But
and the simplest one.
In the simplest one. Yeah. And you are safe if you do that. But it does not stop innovation. Other people
doesn't stop innovation.
Yeah. But that is the ideal way, that's the safest way to do it. But it's not to be prescribed. We are on record, by the way. Because yeah, but the council that they said we must do it that way.
But the thing is, unfortunately or fortunately, the assessment of criteria 2, which is dealing with the graduate attribute, is a paper-based.
Yeah.
It needs to be paperwork.
Yeah, to show them.
Start to become innovative, you just need to know what is the cost incurred in terms of the paperwork required to show that this is being addressed here and then a little bit there, and then I combine the whole thing, and if he missed here, he will come and repeat it. So that is just to have at the back of the mind.
Okay, that's it.
Well, initially I was kind of very enthusiastic with this graduate attributes because I thought it was actually a complement to the whole system. But now I'm actually very much puzzled because if I have to track this apparently for every individual student somehow, then it is actually a mammoth task. Well, maybe it is still the fear of the unknown, but I just look at the little that we know we do right now. I'm afraid to say that we are really not on top of the game most of the time. Plus, it is much easier to face contention with the students that, you know, if a student can dispute a 49% and a 48% and 35%, how about something that is as intangible as this? To me, it's actually very difficult, you know, as a generic thing, a bulk thing where I say, fine, in this particular subject, expect that a student that went through this thing like graduate attribute 1, problem solving. That means if you could pass at least your test, it shows that you could wrap your mind around the problem and solve it. But I mean, as for the other intricacies, it becomes just very, very complex, in my view. And I really wonder whether it is just not an additional burden on a system that is already overladen.
The challenge that we are having with some of the questions, they need evidence, and unfortunately we haven't done the exercise. You see, if you did the exercise and said, I've done this and I find this, it's going to be easier. Because you might go and do this and say, no, it's much easier, it's fine. So just go and do it and see what comes out. Sometimes, as we said, we've got that fear of unknown, and this might be difficult, but just try it and see what comes out. Okay? This is for the team, don't worry. Let's have a look at what it has to do now. It says, engage in independent and lifelong learning through well-defined developed learning skills. Where it's assessed in the 4-year compulsory 5-year courses and all permitted electives, 3 of which must be taken by each student. How is this done? The department requires that a mini project on a topic that not covered in the courses content time be done individually. Remember, engaging independent and lifelong learning. Independent, that's why it's not covered. The assessment instrument used requires the scope and analysis of the literature survey and how this is used in solving the core problem of the assignment to be assessed. Completion and satisfactory performance of the course assignment is a prerequisite for entry to the final examination. We stated it clear. What is satisfactory performance? Within each course project, the critical outcome is performing the literature survey, analysis, and use of the findings in solving the assigned problem, while the student's performance can be varied from the subject to subject, passing in all 7 courses. We mentioned the 7 courses for 4 years, 3 of which years in the end. While the student performance can vary from 7 courses, is therefore taken as a reliable proxy of this outcome. Consequences of an assessment performance. Meeting this outcome is one of the core to passing the mini project, which in turn is essential to admission to the final examination in each course. This is clear. Yes, sir.
That means that if you've got a module with multiple, that addresses multiple excellent items, but you decide in that module, one particular attribute is now important. You can have, as part of the year long, that particular subject, either a specific test, or in this case, an assignment that the student has to do to prove competence in terms of that attribute. And if the student succeeds, gets the 3 or more on the scale of 5, then that student gets in your model, can write the exam and pass the subject. And if that student fails that particular assessment event, because he didn't do the work properly or he failed that question, you can have a problem solving question, open book test or whatever. And if the student fails that, doesn't get to write that exam, and then he has to do the subject until such time as he succeeds. Would that be acceptable for all the exit levels?
Yes. You see, now it answers that fear of unknown that we have. You see, you've got solutions. As we go through along this, it brings that thinking and innovation and it is to make life easier. That's the best way. It's one of, not only the one method, but the safest and easiest way. Then you've got the tangible to say, because you did not achieve that, then you cannot be admitted into the final examination. On the previous one, if you check this,
does the ECSA, the little digression was relevant. These are really like constraints to these ideas. Does the ECSA, I'm sure the ECSA is a way of another obligation on us to attain certain truths. I believe the ECSA is aware of that. Now, these ideas about looking for a good level outcomes as a component qualification to pass a subject, which, strictly speaking, might imply that a student might fail a course for failing a question. Because if we say 50%, it's not 50%. And we say it has to be 50% of every single question, we might not have that luxury when we're trying to push through. How do we factor that in.
Yeah, the statement is very dangerous. That, and I'm going to answer it in a political statement. Be careful of compromising quality for the sake of truth. Be careful of, it's not about throughput, it's about doing things right. That can be justified. The students that live here are the students that can be able to work. Can push numbers, it's easy. I will always tell them, I can stand at a day, you should still pay. Throughput is there, I can do that. That's easy to do. And if we are going to lean towards that.
I know the implication of the question.
Yeah.
But you have criterion 3. Criterion 3 look into these whole issues of throughput. So if your throughput is bad, or it's unacceptable or too low, etc., you cannot blame it on the graduate attribute. I mean, you blame it on something related to criterion 3. So somehow in your teaching method or whatever, the way you teach, the way you select students, etc., something is broken there. That's why then eventually the throughput is not in line. So we cannot blame the throughput at this level.
Yes.
The throughput is looked into in detail in
Let's come in there. In the previous dated 151, criterion 3 was never there. You say teaching and learning. I normally ask this question. All of you who are lecturers, what qualifies you to become a lecturer? What is it that you can show that I'm a lecturer? Huh? What qualification? Which one? But which one? So Tom Jones, who's working for ABC Consulting, is not a lecturer, it's part of qualification. Is he also a lecturer? No. But he has the same qualification.
This is Jones.
Yeah, but let's go back to this one. Let's address this one. No, a teacher from a teacher's college is for the teacher's diploma to say, I'm a teacher. They've been taught how to teach their teachers. Now, what qualifies us, or you sitting here, say you're a lecturer? A payslip. No, you see, and we point this teacher's point at us. What is it that made you to become a lecturer? And we have to phrase it. Yes, sir.
I believe it's a matter of preference.
Yeah, but what? Yeah, but what I'm getting to, a driver will say for the driver's license, that qualifies. What qualifies you to become a lecturer? What is it that you need to become a lecturer? Exactly, because why I'm saying that is because you might find that for the low throughput, because you've never been trained to disseminate information. By having a PhD doesn't make you a lecturer. By publishing papers to become a professor doesn't make you a lecturer. Disseminate information. You might be the problem, that's why there's a lot of throughput. A teacher will yes, it's true. A teacher will prove, because I've been taught, not to stand on the board, to talk slowly, to give, to give homework and so on and so on. You've never been taught through that. By virtue of you being taught by somebody who was even worse when you were studying, you apply that continue. So that problem continues along the way. Yes, sir.
Prof. Jones, what you say is quite correct.
Thank you.
These attributes can be achieved under ideal situation.
Under?
Ideal situation.
The ideal?
Yes, situation. Maybe this, no, we benchmarking now with other European counterparts. We will just bring this. Now we find it in South African environment, which because of other, what do you call it, bottlenecks and other things, resources, sustainability, it becomes very difficult. We're looking at it from a different perspective that the fear that is this really going to be achievable, because it can, if we remove examination and we treat it under continuous assessment, we'll get it.
There's another thought that comes into play. Okay, but please be careful.
So there's a English saying.
Yes.
That saying goes like this: those that can, they do.
Oh.
Those that can't,
will teach. Oh, okay. So that's Because I've been saying I'm waiting for an institution, I hope it will happen in my lifetime, say we offer a qualification of lecturer. I'm waiting for that. You're all engineers, you're all technical people, not lecturers. That's why when you go to ECSA, ECSA does not register lecturers. You never studied to be a lecturer, you studied to be a technical person. They register technical. So people hide it, but I'm a lecturer. No. You're not a lecturer, you're a technical person. By virtue of work, you're doing lecturing work. That's what I'm saying, people cannot define what is lecturing, what makes you to be a lecturer, what allows you to be a lecturer. Nobody can say. And that's why it's easy, and I'm going to say bluntly, that anybody can join in lecturing because there are no requirements. That goes with the lecturing. It's your only PhD publishing. That's not. It's got nothing to do. Somebody who cannot even talk and publish, yes, but they have to talk to the student, disseminate information. That becomes a challenge. Hence, criterion 3, it becomes a challenge. Then teaching and learning is going to be assessed as well as part of the accreditation process. And we've been saying for many years at ECSA that we want to see, this thing of saying ECSA is coming next week or next year in June. You say, but why can't just ECSA rock on today and see what is happening? But they said, no, it cannot happen. But let it happen. Why? Why should we prepare them? You are right here, smell, fresh paint, things that have been bought last week and so on. Depending for ECSA, not for yourself. But your policies are saying you must continually be approved and improved and so on. You're not doing that. You do it for ECSA. People run around a day before ECSA comes. For the past 4 years, they're looking for them, ECSA is coming. They're preparing. Why are you preparing? You don't have to prepare. This should be in order all the time. But because as technical people who are in the wrong profession, that never taught us to prepare. And I said us, I'm not saying you, myself included. You have to be fair in the system. So in a way, if you check and even where you went, you found that there were worse lecturers that had to pass through the system and say, but I can give it. Maybe it was a professor.
Please let me say this again. Does ECSA has a level of compromise? I'm just being
compromised in terms of?
Yes. I'm being trying to get a point. There are 11 direct attributes. If the student will track that, okay, struggles with 2 of these attributes, and eventually, if you say there's a way of quantitatively tracking that this student struggled with 2 attributes but he got 9, I believe, or in a theoretical way of thinking, can that student that do it?
Without achieving the without achieving?
Yeah, he's able to demonstrate competence at the level of 9 of the attributes, but not all the other. I'm just clarifying.
You have to achieve all of them.
You need to achieve all of them.
Yeah.
And there is no compromise. No. So the idea is taken also as you get into an aeroplane and you have a pilot who can take off but cannot land. And he knows how to do the rest but he cannot land.
Yeah.
And then you want to give him the license.
Yes.
Or are you going to be safe or okay to get it? So that's the whole idea.
Let's have one, please.
And then two examples that you give. I just wish to ask whether they have similar table for memory.
At the return. Let's say because we can add us as well. But I want you to go back. Have a look here at the previous one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one was not there. Hence we had this and I said, on the side present a hypothetical example of the submission of evidence of satisfactory assessment of outcomes. On face value, will a team find this evidence satisfactory? The slide does not show the consequence of failure explicitly. What should the team do about this? And what further evidence should be examined? And with what purpose? Who should be interviewed as part of this process? So also think about this when you prepare this, that sometimes it's easy to forget the last part to include. So that one was done deliberately in that way to exclude that part. But please, when you prepare these other ones, Let's go through this and see if you've got other examples, or you just touch base on other ones. So this is for the team. See, this is where the other thing that we spoke about comes into place as well. To say, as evidence of graduate return, the department made the submission. Where is attributed in Law 113, Law for Professionals, as course taken by students in the faculties of in the third year. How to assess 3 hour exam? What is expected performance? 50% the combination of exam and test, 80% weighting. What is the consequence of accessibility performance? The student fails the course. What should the team investigate and who should they talk to? I mean, if you ever look at this, is it answering the graduate attribute with content? Already by then there's a problem. But just saying 3 hour exam, what does that mean? You all follow. And this is coming from the methodology that we had in the previous 1915. Okay? It doesn't seem that we have examples of others. We only have those ones. Yes, sir.
Another issue is we are very much, I am sorry, everybody is about here because I'm not supporting it. I'm very much interested in this kind of attributes. And I think when we were registering the qualification, we used to call them ELs.
Yeah, exit level outcomes.
Yeah, and apparently the ELs were allocated most of the subjects. It simply means that most of the subjects give the student an ability to acquire some graduate attributes. So the question is, what degree of, I don't know, to qualify? It's easy to qualify when we talk of knowledge areas in terms of credits. So, but then the graduate attribute, what amount of graduate attribute must be covered in order to qualify? Because apparently, maybe the first few subjects the student already has those graduate attributes.
Yeah. Remember, in the graduate attributes, if you go back to, well, if you allow me to go back here, this is the graduate attribute. This is what they must achieve. If you go back here, remember we were, for instance, here, we said 10. Understand and commit to professional ethics, responsible and norms of engineering technical practice. This is what must be achieved as a graduate attribute. The how part where assessed is upon to the institution, but the team will come and say, we could this show us this has been achieved, this has been done up to the satisfactory level. So this is the core of the teaching. Now it also goes back. We found with other submissions that the teaching material does not talk to the assessment of achieving the graduate attribute. No way in the teaching this is being addressed. They say, but how are you going to assess them? And that's why you're going to have strikes with the students that, no. We cannot all of a sudden want to be assessed here, you never taught me about this. Or you never told me about this, that I'll be assessed on this at a later stage. So it brings that uniqueness of working together. I know when recalculation of these qualifications were done, it was rush to be the time to submit at CHE, you need to start at this time and so on. But now the reality comes now when you have to do the lecturing to the students, put everything on place, and realize that what you submitted is not ending up to this. But now when the team comes, they're going to look at what we have on site, what is adding value to this, what has been done. And that's what you spoke about at the beginning. Submission is done at CHE, it's fine, it's allowed, but nothing stops you to be innovative within those parameters of the level module descriptors and that CSM document that you submitted, that take one of what is or what the program entails or what the module entails. So it's all about that innovation somewhere somehow, and I think many of you are scared now and realize that things were not done correctly. Hence ECSA comes now when you are halfway through this, that at least the remaining ones needs to be done correct so that the cohort of the students will go through, and other things that are not yet in place can be brought into place to make sure that the students that graduate through the program have achieved what is required. And we take these things for granted. It catches them when they go to industry for application. If you check this, the issue I always tell, take the graduate attribute, the E-series document for accreditation, take the registration document. They talk to each other. So this one is what they are going to do in industry training to achieve registration. This is how the work is done also in industry, because these come from how are they going to practice in future. Hence we say graduate attribute is what is expected of a student when they leave the institution. What is it that they will be able to do? Because you cannot tell us that they will be able to do it here. But you've given them the tools so that they can be able to stand for themselves alone when they are.
Around there, on the table 4, one of the tables mentioned resolution. This one, okay, you mentioned that the student has to do 4 composite subjects and outcome success. Okay? Yeah, the student has to do 4 composite subjects and 3 electives for some set of subjects. If the student passes, might be 70 to 80% of the subjects. If the student gets 80% of those subjects and fails, for example, one, can the student proceed now to possibly the consequence?
But you must say that this is what the consequence is here. And then you have to explain that, but you must prove that they achieved this. You see, what I like about this, you can do a self-test as an institution before you submit your material. And when you start writing down, you realize, but this is not answering what I said here. The things that I have are not answering this. And it's always with every report, it must satisfy you first before it goes to the next person. You must be able to answer questions that are in that report before it goes out to the generic council. Hence, I hope we are now in March. 28th of March. So March is ending over the weekend. We start in April, May, June. You don't have too much time. If you haven't started preparing or knowing what is in your domain, in your area, in your courses, or which this should have been done with. Self-evaluation report. Yes, in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now, in the institution. Yeah. So you rather start yesterday in doing that. So that's because the moment you do this yourselves, you realize where things can be changed. Sometimes information are missing here, but it's there. You talk to each other. This is not a one-man show. And that's where the duality comes in of working together. You normally use this word that these things are interwoven. I've learned this from the politicians when they talk. I don't know what that means, but they use the word. I normally see them use the words they are interwoven. So you need to work together for the achievement of this. It's not going to be one. It's not like in the past, like you said you work in silos. So you remember, in this you cannot work in silos because yours stage to that one and so on and so on. So you cannot blame that one if there's a poor. So you said you want behind. If there's a poor development in here of somebody who does not belong in this lecturing to have an effect on them. So that comes into play. But I can tell you this one will also improve lecturers who did not belong in this profession. That they can, by way of doing this, you will become a better person. Because in a way it forces you to read, to be innovative, look to these things differently and so on and so on. There's so much abundance of information in regards to this. We were here on the reflection on the graduate attributes that they give confidence that the professionally oriented objectives of the program are being met, and the insistence that every student must be assessed. You see, must, not shall, not will or can. In every attitude, no student must escape. Fulfillment of attribute is not automatically ensured by 50% pass mark. Other measures are needed. There are different ways of assessing each attribute. The provider must choose and define the method. Table 4 is an essential planning tool for developing attributes and building knowledge. Table 3 is valuable in designing and defending the assessment methods. So this was all about the graduate attribute. Because from here then I'll have to go back to the where I stopped. It will be 4 now. Okay. So we finish at 4. Yeah. Okay. So when we start tomorrow, we'll start on criteria 3 about teaching and learning, and we go to the resources then.